I want to thank Sinn Féin for bringing this motion today, and also similarly People Before Profit, who had a bill before us back on the 2nd of December. And on both occasions the speeches given and particularly today, utterly failed to deal with the motion. And the motion today, I can't imagine how you could disagree with it, that we immediately publish the Collins Review, immediately publish it. What's the problem with publishing it? Immediately reinstate the March agreement while the COVID lasts. Not sure what the problem is with that, because I understand the Collins Review, part of which was leaked, agrees with that part. Urgently advance the second review. How could you disagree with that? And expand the second review to ascertain the extent to which students performing the works are doing extra. Now, how could you possibly disagree with that? If the senior minister disagrees with it, I can't understand how the junior minister might not take a different view, given the gender that we're talking about here and that we're very familiar with. And you talk about, once again, as you did in the speech that was given the last time, about the exciting and attractive career, and you use your time to talk about that, and as opposed to the despairing, the despondence and the disgust felt by nurses on the ground, and you didn't address that at all. And the message from day one was that we were all in this together, and I welcome that message. And indeed the government did well in rolling out support for businesses and people unemployed, and did give the message that we're all in it together and a sense of solidarity. That has gone completely. And of course it went in the way that we dealt with the nursing homes and the direct provisions. We knew then that we were no longer in it together, that some were more important than others. That has been brought really into focus this week and the last week, where the salary of the new General Secretary or Secretary General in his interim role is going to be increased up to by 81,000, and these figures have been mentioned already. Really and truly, what kind of a message is that to give out when we're all in this together? The nurses certainly are being treated utterly different. This week we learned that the GPs are going to be paid a set fee for rolling out the vaccine, and interestingly they're going to be paid more than the pharmacists, because why? It reflects the market. But I understood that we were changing all that in relation to the market, that we were learning from COVID, and we were learning how important society was, and that there would be transformative change. Well, there has been no transformative change. So we look at the nurses, and particularly the student nurses, and how they've been treated. They're asking very basic, for very basic demands, well not demands, requests. And they're an essential part of the health service, as are all the other nurses, the doctors, also the cleaners and the porters, who are an essential part of the health service. And we've seen from the vaccine rollout that we treat them differently as well. And sometimes we see family members of doctors getting the vaccine before anybody else. And that particular doctor apologised, and that's welcome. But I'm not sure why he's apologising, because he made a very considered decision on the night himself in the absence of information from the government. So I'm not sure of the nature of that apology. And the figures are astounding, and what we have now, Minister, waiting on waiting list. Galway is a disaster zone. Let me place that on the record. 2017, the theatre was leaking. 2 theatres. One was re-established, the other wasn't, and we're in 2021. The figures for orthopaedics are nothing short of shocking. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, waiting to get a first appointment, not to mention the surgery. And all of that was known to you, Minister, because you were in opposition at the time and you were fully familiar with the figures, and you realised that the nurses went out on strike in 2019. We realised that we had one of the worst capacity for beds and for services in Europe. We knew all of that, so the epidemic, which became a pandemic, came on top of that inadequate service. And I'm really tired of the speeches that tell us we have done this or that. They're the most basic things that we would have to do in a pandemic. What we're looking for is transformative action. But today, we're simply looking for a recognition of what the student nurses have done on all our behalf. I was one who clapped. I stood up and clapped. I have said publicly, I'm actually ashamed of that clapping, but I did it. I felt they needed a clap, but they need action. We don't need any more reflection, as the Labour Party has asked for. We need action. Go to Míle Maith.